Hello, I'm Marg Linklater. From the beginning and right up to the present time, the St. Andrew's congregation has been committed to the practice of memorializing. In addition to the stained glass window memorials, there are many memorials of various types spread throughout the church building. Recently relocated to the landing of the stairwell leading to the office complex is a marble tablet with the inscription, "In memory of our fallen heroes for King and Country, 1914 to 1918. This was the work of a memorial committee of the St. Andrew's Presbyterian congregation in 1919. It contains the names of 13 soldiers from the congregation who were killed in World War I. It's the church's first memorial, and it predates the Union which formed the United Church. On the walls surrounding the marble tablet, there are 4 decorative score-old memorials to soldiers from St. Andrew's who served in both the First and Second World Wars. These have been put under glass for preservation and recently put into beautifully color-coordinated frames for display. The stunning wooden sculpting on the east wall of the sanctuary was crafted by Reverend James Henning in memory of their son Leonard, who was killed in a small plane crash in 1999. In the framed plaque below it, the symbolism of the descending dove and the cross grounded in the earth are beautifully described by Margaret Henning after Jim's death in 2015. It was intended by Jim and Margaret that this sculpting might be a beacon of hope and comfort for those experiencing times of sorrow. The small pew at the very back of the sanctuary is dedicated by the congregation to Nancy Locke. Nancy and her husband, Dr. F.D. Locke, were supportive members and workers for St. Andrew's for many decades. Nancy lived to the age of 102 and faithfully came to the church until her last days. She always sat in this pew. There's also a display cabinet in the parlor behind me, which was dedicated to Nancy by the United Church Women. The drawing of the original church, St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, built in 1908, which hangs in the narthex, was done by I.B.T. Hoppy Hopkins in memory of his wife Margaret, who passed away in 1975 at the age of 79. The Hopkins and their children were all dedicated members of the church who made special contributions to the music. The cross, which sits on the communion table, is a memorial to Catherine Shirley Duncan. Shirley was the wife of Reverend Alan Duncan, who ministered here from 1953 to 1957. Shirley died in a tragic firearms accident in 1954. This traumatic event had a devastating effect on the congregation. In the basement of the church is the Shirley Memorial Chapel, which was also dedicated in her name during the opening ceremonies for the new Christian Education Building and the connecting link. A plaque hangs on the wall of the chapel. A beautiful handcrafted oak music stand, still in use, was donated and dedicated to the memory of Donald R. Walker in 1981 by his children and grandchildren. Don passed away in 1981 at the age of 53. Donald was a vital leader and participant in all operational, maintenance, construction, and fundraising activities. He was very active in the church choir for 27 years. He was a member of the Lacombe Choral Society, directed by Dave Roger. As a leader for the District Rangers group, he led the boys on many great adventures. From the engraving on the plate, he was clearly loved by his family. The narthex of the church, completed in 1965, was dedicated to the memory of Floyd E. McLeod, who had passed away in 1963. There's a memorial plaque mounted in the narthex. Floyd had served in many leadership roles throughout his life. He was a steward and an elder of the church through most of his life. The lectern, which stands in the narthex, was donated by the family of Stewart Harold Marston, 1941 to 1962. He was the son of Reverend Harold P. and Mrs. Marston. The Marstons lived in Lacombe from 1948 to 1954 during Reverend Marston's term as minister of St. Andrews. Stewart passed away at the young age of 21. Spread throughout the building and the property are many more memorials of various types. In the parlor is a display of photographs of all the ministers and interns who have served at St. Andrews. This tradition began with a memorial. After the sudden passing of Reverend William Gordon Firth from appendicitis in 1924, his wife presented a photograph which was framed and hung in the church as a memorial to Reverend Firth, who had served and guided St. Andrews through the transition of union in 1922. He was the last minister of St. Andrews Presbyterian Church and the first minister of St. Andrews United Church. In the room used by the choir for Sunday morning warm-up, there's a piano commemorating the contribution made by Leona Soley, née Hopkins, to the musical culture of St. Andrews. The piano was gifted to the choir upon her death, and a plaque was added to ensure that it will always be a memorial to her life and to the lifelong contribution she made to the choir music at St. Andrews. On the lawn at the central entrance is a concrete bench dedicated to the life and service of Reverend Dr. B.H. Brick Thackeray. Bernard Thackeray, known as Brick, served as minister to the St. Andrews Church for 30 years until his retirement in 1987. His exemplary service has been described in the section on stained glass windows. This bench was donated by the congregation through the Memorial Fund. There are 2 young trees on the west lawn of the church. These trees were recently planted to replace 2 living memorial trees which had reached the end of their lives. One of these is planted in memory of Doris Kappas, a devoted church worker who died in a car accident in 1995 at the age of 71. The other is a memorial to Dixie Dalzell, a promising young leader in CGIT, sports, and school activities who died tragically in a car accident in 1961 at the age of 16. Of course, there are many people of the church family who have passed on for whom there are no specific crafted memorials. The official board, the governing body of the church, tries to ensure that people who have done service to the life of St. Andrews are not forgotten. To this end, there's a memorial board at the foot of the stairs in the center link entrance which contains engraved plates with the names of many, many parishioners who have passed on. We conclude with a reminder that this is a living list, with new memorials being added on a regular basis. At the time of writing, there are 3 being developed. The first of these is to the memory of Shirley Henderson. Shirley was a dedicated partner to husband Lawrence in the operation of a very successful dairy cattle business. Shirley was raised in Bentley and had a brief teaching career before her marriage, at which time she moved to Lacombe. She was one of the founding members of the Lacombe Nursing Home Auxiliary in 1973 and served as its first vice president. She was involved in the life of St. Andrews and was a willing volunteer of her time and resources, especially for Girl Guides, Brownies, and UCW events, as much as her busy schedule would permit. Her daughter Bev says that her mother brought the children to Sunday school, even if she couldn't stay herself. Shirley passed away in October 2015 at the age of 88. Another is to commemorate the life of Linda Ethier, who died tragically on January 2, 2016, when her bicycle was hit by a vehicle at a road intersection. Linda was a dedicated member of the St. Andrews family. She has taught Sunday school, she sang in the choir, was an active member of the United Church Women, and was a member of the team called the Fruitcake Ladies that made fruit cakes for sale every Christmas. Linda was serious about fitness and could be seen with or without husband Dennis, cycling about town any time of year. She was well loved by all who knew her. The third is in memory of Isabel Hayfliger, a dynamic and charismatic lady who gave selflessly of her time, creating and maintaining the gardens which beautify the grounds of St. Andrew's Church. Along with her husband Hans, they provided significant landscaping, including the paving stone walkway along the front gardens between the entryways. Isabel was involved in other aspects of church life as well. She served on the official board and on the finance committee for several years. Isabel passed away in August 2016 at the young age of 58 after a long battle with cancer. This list is surely incomplete. For any that have been missed, we sincerely apologize.